Chosen one, you outlasted every wave of misinformation that was thrown your way. They swore you wouldn't survive the inferno they built around your name, but they were wrong. Each coordinated attack was never meant to harm your body, but rather to destroy something much more precious, your truth. Yet they failed, all of them. While they poured their energy into building elaborate monuments to deception, you remained unshakable, as steady and unwavering as cosmic law itself. The very force that keeps the planets in motion held you anchored to reality while they spun wild tales of your destruction. Their weapons were words built on quicksand. Their ammunition came as accusations, but none with any foundation. They rallied armies of gossip, battalions of backstabbers, and entire divisions committed to character assassination. Still, here you are, breathing, thriving, victorious. Ordinary lies might have sufficed if you were an ordinary threat, but deep down they understood you required an industrial strength deception, because you carried an industrial strength truth. The very size of their campaign spoke to your authenticity before a single fact had even been proven. They tried to prophesy your downfall, forgetting that prophecy belongs only to those who remain connected to the source. And they lost that connection long ago. Real prophecy never predicts the destruction of the righteous. It reveals the inevitable triumph of truth over any manufactured reality. You are the embodiment of that triumph. Every breath you take shatters their narrative, and each one of your successes topples another pillar of their fictional world. History always repeats itself through cosmic law. When light threatens darkness, darkness throws everything it has to snuff it out. But there is a law even darkness cannot break. Authentic light can never be extinguished by anything artificial. The fire they tried to put out was never truly yours. It was the source energy flowing through you. Trying to put that out was like trying to douse the sun with a garden hose. What you're about to discover will completely reshape how you understand everything that's happened. These attacks were never just personal vendettas or acts of random cruelty. They were the desperate last struggles of a dying system that recognized you as a real threat to its survival. But first, let me show you exactly how their machinery of deception operated in secret behind closed doors, in conversations you were never meant to hear. They gathered their council of destruction with intent and precision. These weren't just idle gossipers chatting over coffee, but true architects of illusion, engineers of false reality, and master craftsmen of character assassination. They studied your every move like military strategists analyzing an adversary's territory, turning your successes into detailed intelligence reports and your departures into material for their plots. When they realized they couldn't control your trajectory, they set out to rewrite your story altogether. Picture boardroom meetings where your name was scrawled across whiteboards alongside strategic maps, and imagine long email threads in which your reputation was dissected like a science experiment. They reverse-engineered every decision you made, working backwards from your achievements to invent plausible alternative explanations, casting shadows over your integrity. The documents they produced weren't outright forgeries, but truth twisted until it was nearly unrecognizable. A legitimate contract was recast as evidence of shady dealings, a smart business decision reframed as proof of secret agendas, and your financial success presented as circumstantial evidence of wrongdoing. They took the real building blocks of your achievements and constructed elaborate houses of cards, stable only from a distance. What they never truly grasped was that your spiritual gifts unsettled them so deeply they felt compelled to act. Every time you demonstrated supernatural insight, whenever your intuition proved spot on, or when divine guidance led you to outcomes they could never reach through manipulation, these moments became direct threats to their worldview. If you could access opportunity and knowledge through spiritual channels, it rendered their entire system of information hoarding obsolete. So they deployed half-truths like targeted bombs, each carefully designed to inflict the most damage while leaving little evidence behind. The orchestrated nature of their campaign could have impressed military psychological operations experts. They struck with precision, always when you were rising, never when you were vulnerable enough to garner sympathy. Your victories became the very substance they twisted into suspicion. Earn a promotion, and it must mean you compromise someone. Land a lucrative contract, and it's proof of something unethical. Leave a toxic environment, and you must be fleeing consequences. They weaponized the very successes that were proof of your authentic power, turning your achievements into accusations. Your excellence threatened their mediocrity, so they invented stories to drag you back to their level. The collective mentality that eagerly embraced these fabrications revealed a deeper resentment against anyone who dared to rise above average. Ultimately, your success forced them, and everyone watching, to confront uncomfortable truths about their own stagnation. They weaponized envy with surgical precision, knowing that the combination of your success and spiritual gifts was the perfect recipe for public resentment. Your ability to manifest results through divine connection, rather than through manipulation or worldly games, threatened the very foundation of their reality. If you could access abundance through righteousness, what excuse did they have left for their own lack? Your accusers became puppet masters, subtly pulling the strings of everyone who felt inadequate compared to your achievements. They didn't need the entire world to believe you were guilty. They only needed to make people feel inferior in the shadow of your success. Their attacks came at your moments of greatest breakthrough, precisely when your light was shining at its brightest. Because the brightest light casts the deepest shadows, giving darkness a place to hide. Each quantum leap you made in your growth triggered their fear, activating their defenses against the threat of their own irrelevance. But what they never saw coming was how you responded to their campaigns. Instead of exhausting yourself by fighting their lies head-on, you took a path that ultimately unraveled their schemes. Your strategic withdrawal from toxic environments wasn't an act of defeat, but of intelligence and preparation. While they misread your exits as evidence of guilt or weakness, you were actually following higher guidance and sensing the coming upheaval before it arrived. Like a general retreating from a lost battlefield to secure higher ground, you left situations where truth couldn't breathe, guided by divine timing that made sense only in hindsight. You moved on from jobs just before scandals erupted that would have ensnared anyone nearby. You ended relationships before destructive patterns reached their breaking point. You stepped away from projects before they collapsed under the weight of dishonesty. What looked impulsive to others was, in reality, prophetic wisdom. Removing yourself before the inevitable fallout protected you from being tarnished by association and established you as a truth-teller whose warnings went unheeded. Your absence spoke louder than your presence, allowing reality to play out as you had foreseen. The situations you left behind crumbled exactly as you had predicted, validating your discernment more powerfully than any defense could. When the time came for investigators to examine the aftermath of those places you had abandoned, the only record of your involvement was documentation of your attempts to warn others, and your timely departure when those warnings were ignored. You became the canary in the coal mine, and your survival was proof of the toxicity you sensed long before anyone else. By choosing to hold your truth in silence rather than fueling arguments with noise, you showed a mastery your accusers simply couldn't understand. They expected protests, denials, and explanations. The usual dance of defensive engagement that would have given their accusations credibility simply by drawing you into the drama. But instead, you offered them nothing. Your silence starved their narrative of the fuel it needed to grow. Lies feed on resistance, accusations need defensive responses to seem legitimate, and campaigns of character assassination depend on their targets reacting emotionally to validate the attacker's claims. You gave them none of that, chosen one. Quick pause. Family. If this message is truly resonating with your soul and you want to support this sacred work, feel free to buy me a coffee. It keeps this space flowing with truth, light, and divine clarity. The link is in the description. And don't forget to drop number 88 in the comments. Let's keep going. Now, your authentic timeline begins right here. The spiritual discipline it takes to watch lies devour themselves requires a faith forged in steel, trusting that truth will always rise in the end. Where lesser souls would have cracked under the pressure of letting falsehoods circulate unchallenged, you understood that rushing to defend yourself often only confirms guilt in the eyes of the public, while patient silence gives time for contradictions to surface and exposure to happen naturally. Your deep knowing that justice follows cosmic timelines, not human impatience, sustained you during months that felt like defeat. While others demanded immediate responses and public rebuttals, you trusted the higher principles that govern the universe, that every lie carries within it the seed of its own destruction, and that truth possesses the power to resurrect itself no matter how deeply it's buried. Isolation became your refinery, transforming your inner base metal into gold, while also exposing the counterfeit nature of your accusers. Under pressure, what's authentic only grows stronger, while what's synthetic shatters. The very heat that was meant to break you instead forged your resilience and exposed their fragility. Your season of wilderness brought about powerful, unseen changes. Just as carbon, under immense pressure, transforms into a diamond, your essential nature crystallized into something harder, brighter, and more indestructible. Every attack that was meant to shatter you simply destroyed everything in you that could have been broken. Meanwhile, as time dragged on, your accusers grew increasingly desperate. Deprived of the satisfaction they expected from your downfall, their lies became harder to maintain, unraveling under the weight of mounting contradictory evidence. They soon found themselves trapped inside stories that demanded ever more creative explanations, just to remain believable. Memory became their greatest enemy, as witnesses began to recall details that simply didn't fit the timelines and narratives they had carefully constructed. The effort required to maintain these elaborate lies eventually drained all of their credibility. Every exposed falsehood forced them into even more tangled storytelling just to hold their crumbling narrative together. Their stories started to eat each other alive, with conflicting versions competing for believability. Witnesses who had been coached to support one version of events were now contradicting others who'd been prepared with entirely different scenarios, causing the conspiracy to buckle under its own complexity. Meanwhile, your authentic truth remained steady across every version and every timeline, because truth doesn't require maintenance, updating, or coordination between storytellers. The stark contrast between your unwavering truth and their constantly shifting lies soon became obvious even to casual observers. But the real transformation was still to come. Everything up to now was just the pressure cooker, setting the stage for the eruption that would forever change the landscape of truth and deception around you. The first crack in their fortress of lies appeared exactly where cosmic law said it would, at the very point where truth and fabrication were stretched to their limit. Just like buildings collapse at their weakest joints under stress, lies break down most dramatically where they veer furthest from reality. One exposed lie led to a chain reaction of doubts, with every related claim suddenly open to systematic questioning. Investigators who found proof of deliberate deception in one area naturally wondered what else had been fabricated. The carefully built house of cards collapsed rapidly. Each revealed lie eroding confidence in everything else they had claimed. Those who had once defended them now became investigators themselves, scrutinizing the very stories they'd once accepted without question. The shift from loyal follower to skeptic happened almost overnight as the first seeds of doubt took root. People who once spread their lies now felt deceived and became determined to uncover the full extent of the manipulation they had unknowingly participated in. When you presented documentation they never realized existed, it struck the final blow to their credibility. Records they thought were destroyed or hidden surfaced at exactly the right moment to contradict their central claims. Witnesses they believed were silenced finally spoke out. Evidence they assumed would never see the light of day burst forth with the force of cosmic justice. While they focused on manufacturing crimes to pin on you, their own hidden offenses lay exposed like forgotten landmines ready to detonate. The very attention they directed toward investigating you inevitably illuminated their own questionable actions. Every accusation they hurled became a mirror reflecting back their own guilt. The karmic boomerang effect played out with mathematical precision. Whatever energy they put into trying to destroy you returned amplified and targeted directly at them. Universal law doesn't bargain or make exceptions. What you send out comes back to you with interest, and by now they'd racked up an enormous debt in the cosmic accounting system. Their efforts at coordination were revealed as clear evidence of conspiracy against you, not as legitimate investigations. Communication records showed premeditation and malicious intent. Financial trails exposed payments for character assassination. Digital footprints mapped the systematic nature of their campaign with evidence strong enough for any courtroom. When the truth came out about who was really orchestrating the accusations, it pulled back the curtain on a web of corruption that extended far beyond just their attacks on you. Your case became the catalyst that unlocked a deeper understanding of widespread, systematic abuse of power and coordinated deception operations that had impacted many others, not just you. Suddenly, all the opportunities that had been blocked by false narratives burst open like floodgates. The cosmic correction was exact. Every door that was closed through deception swung open so forcefully that your path accelerated far beyond what it might have been, without all the interference. Your emergence set off a chain reaction of opportunities that defied logical explanation. Decision-makers who had never even heard your name began to seek you out for projects perfectly aligned with your talents and gifts. Resources poured in from the most unexpected places, and the speed and scale of your restoration sent shockwaves through the very communities that once witnessed your character being attacked. This was not some slow process of rebuilding your reputation. It was cosmic justice at full speed, correcting everything that had been artificially blocked from your path. Your breakthrough was so undeniable that it left no doubt about the divine force protecting you. Even former enemies felt compelled to publicly acknowledge their mistakes, showing a level of accountability almost unheard of in human affairs. The same voices that had once broadcasted accusations were now speaking retractions and apologies, and the very platforms that had spread lies about you transformed into channels for sharing the truth, both about your character and the campaign of deception you endured. Within the spiritual community, your experience became a clear example of the persecution that often targets those who challenge established power with their connection to divine truth. Your survival stood as living evidence of cosmic protection that extends to all who align themselves with higher principles. As the truth spread and the false narratives fell apart, opportunities began to flow in, business partnerships, collaborations, and spiritual alliances that should have come your way years before, suddenly manifesting as if to make up for lost time. Emerging from this crucible, you carried not only your own restoration, but also a new level of responsibility, reaching far beyond personal healing. Your survival story became a guiding light for other targeted souls navigating the trials of spiritual warfare. The record of your journey through orchestrated deception and your ultimate triumph offered hope and practical guidance to those facing similar attacks. Your experience proved that enduring character assassination isn't just possible. It can actually become a pathway to greater strength and clarity. Fellow truth seekers drew inspiration from your resilience, using your example as living proof that cosmic justice works even when human systems fail. Your ability to emerge whole after systematic attempts to destroy you showed that authentic power cannot be fabricated or erased by artificial means. Recognizing your journey as part of a larger spiritual war helped others realize that their own targeting wasn't the result of personal weakness or random misfortune, but actually a sign of their significance in the greater cosmic battle between truth and deception. Your personal victory validated the resistance of others who had faced similar trials and encouraged them to persist. Other chosen ones saw their own stories reflected in your testimony, finding comfort and confirmation in your words. The systematic nature of attacks on lightworkers became undeniable, as people from different places and times reported experiencing nearly identical tactics. What once looked like isolated incidents was revealed to be a coordinated campaign against spiritual awakening, a force that went far beyond individual grudges. This collective awareness inspired the spiritual community to recognize and respond to these dark operations, leading to the creation of support networks for protecting targeted lightworkers. Your survival inspired new systems for early warnings, mutual protection, and quick responses to character assassination campaigns aimed at spiritually gifted people. Networks sprang up to share information about common tactics used against truth seekers, spreading awareness and equipping others to avoid falling prey to similar manipulation. In this way, your experience became a teaching tool that educated whole communities about recognizing and confronting systematic deception. Your story has become a timeless testimony to truth's inevitable victory over even the most coordinated and relentless web of lies, finding its place among the archetypal legends of light, overcoming darkness that have inspired resistance and courage across cultures and centuries. The universal principles revealed through your journey are not limited to your own experience. They speak to all conflicts where authentic power stands against the artificial, and where integrity challenges the machinery of deceit. By establishing your authentic legacy beyond the reach of slander and fabrication, you created an unshakable foundation that no future deception could hope to weaken. The trials you endured tested your character in the fiercest fires, refining and revealing a core of resilience and genuineness that would outlast not just your accusers, but the very systems that tried to break you. Your credibility is now anchored in the enduring truth of your actions, shining long after the voices of slander have faded into obscurity. Your rise to a realm where former accusers can no longer reach you is not just a personal victory, but the natural outcome of true spiritual warfare, where truth consistently ascends and lies inevitably fall to their proper depth. The separation between what is authentic and what is artificial becomes clear, fixed, and permanent. Once these tests are complete, and the results are imprinted in cosmic consciousness. With your survival comes a sacred responsibility to act as a protector, a teacher, and a guide for others who will face the same kinds of systematic spiritual targeting. Your experience has made you an expert in recognizing subtle and overt attacks long before they can take root, and you are now equipped to offer support and wisdom, providing others with the strategies and perspective necessary for their own journeys. Every falsehood spoken about you is now proof of your significance in a cosmic struggle your adversaries never fully understood. Their accusations and relentless campaigns intended to neutralize your presence instead revealed the threat you posed to entire systems of deception that depended on your silence. The ferocity and coordination of their attacks only served to confirm your vital role in exposing their illegitimacy. In attempting to halt your progress, darkness poured all its resources into the effort, but in doing so, only validated your divine calling. Ordinary people do not provoke such extraordinary opposition. Your struggle was proof of your connection to deeper principles that threaten the very roots of artificial authority. In a powerful twist of fate, their attempts to destroy your reputation became the very material for the legend they feared most. Their lies, intended to erase your influence, have instead become the building blocks of your story, a testament of triumph that will empower resistance against deception for generations to come. They became authors of their own defeat, scripting a narrative of your downfall that transformed into a saga of victory. Your name now stands as a symbol of resilience and truth, prevailing over a coordinated assault of deception, a beacon for all those who face similar darkness. The documentation of your survival has established a permanent record, one that darkness cannot revise, erase, or overwrite. Chosen ones across eras and continents will look to your story for strength, finding the living evidence they need to believe that resisting deception is not just possible, but deeply meaningful. Your victory rises beyond your personal circumstances, serving as universal testimony to the eternal principles at work throughout cosmic history. The archetypal journey you've lived out will inspire future generations each time the authentic collides with the artificial, whenever someone stands alone for truth against overwhelming odds. Your survival now joins the legendary annals of light's victory over darkness, guiding movements of resistance and awakening within human consciousness across time. What you endured and overcame is now prophecy for all who find themselves walking similar paths. Your experience proves that cosmic protection remains steadfast for all who stay aligned with truth, no matter the force of opposition. The precedent you've set becomes a guiding light and an assurance. Anyone who holds fast to divine principles can expect the universe to honor and restore them, just as you have been honored and restored. The eternal truth you embody cannot be twisted or destroyed by future campaigns of deception, because you have proven it in the crucible of the most extreme adversity imaginable. Your victory now stands as an unchanging monument, a living testimony that authentic power cannot be destroyed by anything artificial. You have outlasted every wave of misinformation, because you are the information. You are the living truth that could never be rewritten or erased. No matter how many false stories were spread, your very existence remains the final, irrefutable answer to every lie they ever told. Like a phoenix, you have risen from the ashes of deception. Those ashes, scattered by the winds of cosmic justice, leave only the brilliance of truth standing tall, now inseparable from your story. Truth endures, wears your face, speaks in your voice, and moves forward in your footsteps toward a future that can no longer be tainted by lies. Welcome to your legend. Welcome to the eternal reality of who you've always been. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm, to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlightened Wisdom.